How's it going, everyone? Welcome once again to the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. It's good to be back. It's been a couple months since it's been on my channel. I'm Eric. You guys know what you're watching. We got a good show in store for y'all tonight.
Green flag, green flag. I'll roll. He's flipping me off. Ah! Hey, yeah, boys, how about that? They touched. Push it in the wall. He drew it off the track. Baby, that's how you do it. Get that second flag, son.
Yeah, how's it going, everyone? Hope you are having a great week so far. We have a full show. Of course, I'm Eric, joined as usual by our regular host plus a couple guests. I'll let our guests introduce themselves in a minute. But of course, we have Danny B Talks over here. We got Darian from Black Flags Matter, Jarrett the Iceberg, Rusty Walrus is joining us this week. Always great to have him on the show. And this week our special guest is Rattlesnake he's got a podcast called Chairgate, and I've been on a couple times. Welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, a couple. I think you've become like my regular. I get DMs and people are like, "Can he just join the podcast officially?"
Yeah, unfortunately, the way it is now is I'm not a free agent, but
well, I think it's just because I'm really bad, and they're just like, "Can somebody good actually like join the podcast?" So,
no. I'd like to think that maybe they just like our camaraderie, but hopefully they get a good taste of it tonight. We got a good big show in store. I don't know where you guys want to start. I assume we should just start with Kansas.
I'd like to start to say something, actually, Eric.
Okay, yeah, you have the floor.
We were so close! Oh, my gosh.
I'd say let's have Rusty. He was actually at the race. Well, both our guests were. Have you guys start us off?
I'll let the guests go.
Yeah.
I actually like Kansas Speedway. I know it doesn't always produce the best racing, but I enjoy the setup around the track. It's a lot of fun. That was my first time in the infield there. I got to interview Austin Dillon, so that was a good time. And obviously, as everybody knows, the race was incredible. It was an awesome race. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's my take.
Not a lot else to be said there. Rusty, how about you? What was your POV?
Well, that was my first time ever at Kansas. I've been to Chicagoland, a number of other tracks. Kansas Speedway might be the best overall facility, just everything top to bottom. It's world class. I loved everything about it. So that's the first thing I want to say in case there's anybody from Kansas out there. If you're in the area, you have to check out Kansas. I mean, the racing is obviously back now, but absolutely fantastic facility. And I made a last-second kind of impulse decision to go. I was sitting there at work all week, and it was literally Thursday night. I'm like, I got to go. And I left my house at 2 a.m, drove straight down there for Friday morning to see the trucks, and then got Cup on Saturday and headed home Sunday morning. So it was one heck of a weekend that blew me away, and I'm still kind of speechless from the whole thing.
You even saw Grip Dog, too.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I saw Griff. I saw Elijah Burke, and then I saw one of Ed Soundhead's admins, and then I also met a couple people that at the track too, like in the merchandise line. So it was it was fun. I met a lot of fun, cool people.
Yeah, awesome. I guess we like to, how we start these episodes a lot is we like to rate races on a scale of 1 to 10. We like to give our general thoughts of the racing itself. I'll go and start out. Danny, you're the one on the farthest left on my screen. How'd you enjoy the race? I know your boy second place again, but besides that, how'd you feel about the racing this weekend?
Well, regardless of the situation of Bowman not winning, I was just on the edge of my seat the entire time watching the end of that. I mean, I was working a little bit later, and then by the time I got home, like it was just exciting from the get-go. Like every little bit I saw, I was like, I cannot believe how close these guys are running to each other. Like this right here, if this was if you could tell someone, turn on your TV and watch NASCAR, this is what you're going to see every week, I could see it changing the fan base a bunch. But the thing is, all we've seen with this package so far is that we've only seen it really perform good on a track like this. I really want to see how this keeps going forward. I'm more curious about, how's this All-Star race package going to be, because it's going to be a little bit different. I'm curious how is Coke 600 going to do, because that's going to be another 1.5 mile night race. How a track that's really making me wonder is the night race at Kentucky. Hot in the summertime, at night, track kind of similar to Kansas, maybe a little bit smaller. I'm going to be really interested for that one, actually.
For sure. Darian, what did you think of the racing?
Man, this race, by far the best 1.5 mile race of 2019 so far. Saw a lot in the very beginning. Kevin Harvick was extremely dominant throughout the race. Even got out to a 3-second lead early on, and then you saw to see a mix of strategy. You saw William Byron, Kurt Busch, even Ryan Blaney, who was non-existent the entire race. It seemed like taking 2 tires to try and get out front. And on the short run, it was working, but then like the long runs, obviously they were falling back, and even Ryan Blaney almost spun out at one point. But then some notable guys up front. Tyler Reddick finished 9th, my dark horse pick. You also saw Alex Bowman. He's coming to his own as of late. Kurt Busch was running up there for a teeny bit there, but then we had some fireworks towards the end. Clint Boyer was very frustrated with the way he was raced by Eric Jones. Personally, I didn't see a problem with it. It's the last lap, anything goes. Jones is trying to protect. He's trying to protect second place. Then Boyer just, in typical Boyer fashion, is just has to say, something funny, during the interviews and stuff too. That's why, he's one of the most liked drivers. And then Keselowski really, he was running mostly inside the top 10 early on, but then the car came to him as the race progressed and was able to get win number 3 of the season. And even after the race, he said something positive about the package. That's the first time I've ever seen him.
I was the most shocked, probably.
Yeah, I was shocked by that. And yeah, so overall, I would give this race a 9 out of 10. Not a 10. Still, to me, Talladega was the best race so far this season, but Kansas Speedway, the Kansas race, close second for sure.
Oh yeah, I'd definitely. Again, I'm going to be a little more positive, which is going to be out of character here. I'd probably give it a 10. Also, I gave that to Talladega. When I turned it on just a tad late. I think it was like 20 laps in. But just I noticed even though Harvick got out pretty quick early in the run. English is still difficult for me. Even though he got out early in the run, there still was enough passing in the back that early, and I was like, wow, that's really uncharacteristic that early in a race for there to be this much passing going on. I'm like, I wonder if that'll keep ramping up through the night. And as it kept going, the first and second stage, it really reminded me of Chicagoland last year. And then that last 100 laps was just, it was amazing. Amazing. I loved it, the way that they could run side by side. There were people going, the restarts, people going 4 or 5. I think there was even a 6-wide pass in the back. As much as I am definitely been one of the bigger detractors of this package, it completely 100% delivered tonight. Race was probably the best Kansas night race in a long time. Probably maybe 2014 is the only one that could probably compare, and I don't even think that it really does. I see some people are upset with the finish and that Bowman didn't get the win. But at the same time, I don't think a finish takes away anything from an entire race. I think if you look at it objectively, this is probably the best 1.5-mile race we've had for sure this year. You could honestly say it's probably the best 1.5-mile race. It's in the contention, at least, for the best 1.5-mile race we've had in the Gen 6 era. Yeah. And that's saying something, because there have been some good races. There's been some really good races in the Gen 6 at 1.5-miles. Contrary to popular belief. So I love it. And the fact that I will touch on it probably a little later, but that TV ratings did manage to go up shows that more people watched. And if we can just keep that hype train going into the summer, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. But yeah, sure. Going back to the rating, I'll give it a 10 out of 10. I thoroughly enjoyed the race. I don't understand how, if you're not rooting for someone who lost, you couldn't enjoy that race. So that's my take on it. And you want me to pull up the poll I did really quick?
Sure, yeah.
Cool. See what some of the people in the chat were saying. So
I'll say this. Bowman finished second and all three of the past 3 races. So I can't really be biased on any of them, so I can clearly say that out of those 3, I think Kansas was definitely my favorite.
And it's also for that's the first time that someone has had 3 straight second place finishes for the first time since 2017, when Kyle Larson opened. He did that to start the season, so that's cool.
So looking at the poll here, so I was surprised, had the biggest turnout ever.
Wow.
For it so far. Granted, it's only been 5 weeks, but 2/3 of you guys said it was a great race. And 23% of you said it was good. So if
Wow.
I'm not bad at math, I'd say that means 90% on the happiness scale, which
Very
is only
happy.
second. Yeah, that's only second to Talladega, which is at 91%.
That 2% is all just Eric Jones fans, by the way.
Yeah, there
So,
There's Trump, bro.
are 3% of people that really need help.
so I like what Left Turn Production says. The people who said this race was bad really don't know what they want.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Or they're just trolling, I think. Honestly.
It is amazing to me though that Bowman was one of I feel like was definitely had a minority of fans, and now definitely there's so many people that have just been coming out here recently. I really hope he wins. He's definitely gaining a lot of fans right now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, look at what Oscar here says. Alex is really talented.
AF, good, nice.
AF.
Evan Harvick, AF.
Let's see. I'm keeping that cussing abstinence going.
Very good.
Hey, I will say though, after the race, the next day, I said this in my podcast yesterday, but when I was leaving the hotel, I talked to these two guys. I saw they were wearing Truex stuff, so I was just like, "Hey, what did you think of the race?" And they did not like it. They did not like it, and so I said it in my podcast. I was like, "It seems like everybody I talk to, or on Twitter, or on YouTube, stuff like that, everybody loves it." But you talk to these random guys that aren't associated with any of this stuff, we wouldn't hear them because I don't think they're on Twitter or anything. And they didn't like it. They were not a fan of the race at all.
Just older fans, maybe not liking the package, possibly. I don't know.
That's what I think it probably is, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's something that might be leaving a sour taste in people's mouth. From Akuma Gaming says that the racing itself was excellent, but the officiating and how the drivers kept screwing around and not lining up for the restart.
Yeah, that's right.
That was
That's right.
making me pretty upset. I was like, what are they doing? Just get in line.
Yeah, there was some confusion. Johnson was confused, and even Eric Jones's team was protesting. We had the lead after pit stops. It's like,
And
yeah,
this isn't the first time this season we've had this. We had it at Bristol too.
No, there were some people who left comments. They said was what seemed pretty negative, or at least not as positive, and those should get a little light too. So Jacob Hunter Reed says the first 210 laps were utter garbage after Newman's loose tire. It was good, but 50 laps don't make a race good at all.
I think it was bad. It was good before that.
it was way good.
I would say
before
so too, but I can understand if people maybe didn't like it. And then Michael Murray also says, again, boring. Cars are way too slow. Wasn't very interesting. Had to turn off yet again. You must have turned off the TV after the first 20 laps, man.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
What does he mean by again? We just had Talladega, one of the most entertaining races of this decade.
that.
Yeah,
I think that's a person that you just can't make happy.
Yeah.
So, and then, well, last one. This one I found. One. I'm like,
As if
Okay.
that's going to sway his decision.
well, it's more like, I mean, of all the sources to look for about that, am I really the most best one? I mean, I'm flattered,
I think
but
that was a compliment, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's almost as funny as a comment I read on one of my videos that said, "Where did Dale Jr. finish?" I'm like, are you serious?
I also have to say this. It seems like Hendrick and Chevy, they're back now, officially, right? I'd say they're officially back. I remember last month we were like, oh, I don't know about them. They're way off. And then a month later, they're back now.
Well, here in the chat, Slap, who we're pretty big fans of, says, as someone knocking on the door of 30, I like the new package at Kansas. It was slow, but so were the races back in the 90s, and the racing back then was dank AF.
Yeah.
Gotta keep the AFs coming. Oh my gosh.
I love this guy's channel, by the way. I love your channel, by the way, man.
He'll be on in the future. We already scheduled him for being on, and we can't wait.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I want to ask you guys a question, although first I will shout out, thank you, Big Blue Attack, for the $5 super chat. He says, hi, guys, and Bowman's so close to win, so he feels for you, Danny. Did you guys see John Hunter Nemechek on Twitter about the Indy 500? Is he running it? I don't actually know.
I didn't see that.
I didn't see it.
He liked how fast the cars were going, and he has interest in doing it one day.
Okay, well, very interesting. Well, thank you for the super chat. And I want to ask you guys here, Jarrett, you alluded to it. You thought Kansas was one of the best mile-and-a-half races in a long time. I feel like last year we had a great mile-and-a-half race. A lot of people are comparing it to. I want to ask everyone on the panel here, Chicagoland last July versus Kansas this weekend. Which did you guys prefer as a race? I know the finish was great in the summer, but as a whole.
I preferred Kansas as a whole race.
Okay.
Kansas. I'd say the same thing. Kansas, too. Kansas as well. But, yeah, Jarrett's a little biased.
I'm biased. I'd say the first half of the Chicagoland race and the finish were better, but if you looked at, laps 150 to 250, Kansas for sure blows it out of the water. But, yeah, as much as it pains me to say it, I'd probably say the Kansas race overall was actually better.
Well, it's like this, like that comment you just read, the guy turned it off. Well, he missed probably the most exciting parts of that race. Like most races, people, like a casual fan would say, yeah, I'll watch the start and I'll watch the end. If you missed the middle parts of this race, you missed exciting racing.
Yeah. And I think this race proves that NASCAR isn't just all the first few laps and restarts and the end. Because I mean, I think they showed, there's a chart where it showed like green flag passes into runs, and this year's race just completely blew the other one out of the water. I'm being redundant with that statement. I'll figure out a new one. But when the chart you see like on, I forgot where it is. I
know which one you're talking about though. Yeah.
But it's like last year's races, like there was passing for about the first 10 laps of the run, and then it sort of flattened a little more until 20, and then just completely flattened off. Whereas like this year's, it went up to where it was going up the amount of passes through 20 laps, and then started to taper off through 30, flattened about 40, 50 laps into a run. Then surprisingly, after pit stops, not even like not counting during pit stops, after pit stops, passing went up again. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing I got excited about at Kansas was like guys were able to, you could see them. I don't know what the TV was showing, but guys were getting runs. The one that got me super excited was seeing Chase Elliott. He was running the top, the bottom, the middle. He wasn't just hugging the bottom. He was going everywhere with that car. And there's kind of a misconception about this package. Maybe it's just Kansas was perfect for it, and Chase Elliott had the dominant car. But guys could do different things depending on the air and where they're at on the track. It was awesome to watch.
Well, what was most exciting for me was when Elliott and Bowman were fighting for the lead. Like, they did that for so long, side by side. And at one point, you could tell that Chase had nothing more that he could do for Bowman. And, like, he was really running him as hard as he possibly could, to where at one point he actually almost wrecked Bowman.
But you have to be careful when doing that, because it basically allows the cars behind you to catch up to you. Unfortunately, with this package, running side by side for that long.
But it creates great moments though, like when we saw Stenhouse dive bomb him 3 wide to take the lead. Like, that's a great moment.
Very exciting.
I want to ask you guys as well. Oh, I lost my train of thought entirely. Well, okay. Another thing I think people might have liked about Kansas, and I think this is something that kind of speaks to a bigger topic that a lot of people have been debating recently, is Kansas is only 400 miles. Do you guys think that added to the entertainment value? Do you think that maybe 400-mile races just in general are more easily digestible by fans, or do you guys not mind? I feel like most of us up here don't mind the 500-milers, but what do you guys think about going forward in NASCAR?
No, I'd say if NASCAR had more 400-mile races, maybe more fans would be in tune to watch the whole thing. Shorter races, and then more exciting as well. I mean, out here in Vegas, we've always had 400-mile races, and we haven't had much good racing for a while there, and so like it's more easy to watch, I guess.
No, I personally feel like I missed something. If it's a 400, I'm like, I wanted more racing. It seems like it wasn't enough. But I think you have a good point. Like, for everyday fans, 400 might be more digestible outside of like the super speedways or Charlotte or something. Mm-hmm. So maybe you're right. One like Kansas intermediate,
I mean,
probably not bad.
I mean, Auto Club used to be 500 miles. Pocono, for God's sakes, used to be 500 miles. I remember those days. Oh, I'm glad they shortened those races.
Yeah. No, I do want to. I do want to bring something up that Bradman said in the chat with us during the race, and I think it's a good point to bring up, though, is that it seems like this package does a lot better when there's more grip with the track. It's a little cooler out, and more. It's a Kansas night race just fit perfectly into what this package can deliver best in. When we're talking about going to Michigan or Kentucky, even though it'll be a night race, it'll still be probably a lot warmer. And Chicagoland, which is going to be a heat wave. What kind of racing do you guys think we'll expect? Because I'll be honest, I think we're going to probably see a little bit closer more to last year's racing compared to what we just saw this past Saturday night.
I don't know, that Kentucky one, it's just standing out in my mind. Like, I wish I didn't have to work Saturdays, because I would really want to go see that one.
The fact that we're even considering Kentucky might be one of the best races of 2019 really says a lot there. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of these races are going to look more like Texas or Las Vegas earlier this year. I'm more intrigued about the All-Star race this weekend because it's a night race and it's not going to be hot yet. It'll probably be in the 70s by race time. I don't know. And then the Coke 600 the next week, obviously, same thing. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's a good point. The Kansas race here, similar to the All-Star race last year, was run in near perfect conditions for what this package can become. So I definitely don't think that what we saw at Kansas is going to be the norm. I don't know. I'd say the racing at Kentucky, it can't get a whole lot worse. So I would definitely say it'll probably be improved, but I don't know if it'll be quite to Kansas standards. Kansas, I'm afraid, could be kind of a one-off.
Well, and Rusty, I'm not sure where you're from, but I thought it was cold as hell.
Oh, dude!
I legit had to leave the race and go to the casino and like watch from inside the casino because I was just freezing my ass off.
I was texting the guys. I'm like, I don't know what the TV's saying, but it feels like it's about 15 degrees out. I thought I was gonna die.
I was dying. Everybody, and I was leaving, and I was like, maybe it's just because I'm from Texas. But all the other people working, they're like, no, we're from here. This is cold as hell.
Dude, no, I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota. It felt like winter out there. It was bad.
Well, if you think it's cold, then I know I'm not.
It was bad. It was bad.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah.
Also, one more race to bring up since we're talking about Kentucky. The playoff opener at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It's a day transitioning into a night race. So I don't know. Maybe the first playoff race might be a thriller too.
But wasn't it like insanely hot there a year ago that time of year?
No. It's like yeah, but like it's day into night though.
What's
so like
insane? What are the standards we're using for insanely hot? Because like everyone was saying Chicago is insanely hot. And
well,
it's hot, but it's not terrible.
I mean, I'll just put it like this: we had people passing out at the Speedway. Like,
so
we had like
Chicagoland.
I
I see. Okay, I'm a little weird on this. I don't see 95 as being insanely hot. I see it as being hot. Once you hit that triple digits, that's when you get to insane.
Yeah, from 100. Yeah,
you can do damage in the 90s though. You can still do damage.
But I'm like, as long as you hydrate, no, like, water is what I mean, not beer. As long as you hydrate and you just take care of yourself, like, you should be fine in the 90s.
Well, and in Vegas, doesn't it get cold at night though? Like,
very cold, very cold, especially during the wintertime. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I will look. I'm looking forward to the Las Vegas race, which is a damn weird thing to say.
It's weird. no one's ever said that before.
I find it weirder that I'm looking more forward to a Las Vegas race than I am towards like half the schedule, like for the rest of the year.
I find Kentucky to be the most weirdest though.
I'll be completely honest. I don't think anything fixes that track. They butchered what good they had. I would love to be proven wrong because that means that I was entertained with a good race. But the good race in Kentucky should be on different sides of the world. They should be in different hemispheres. They do not belong together. They had a separation agreement, and they legally can't be within 300 feet of each other.
You know what's the saddest thing about Kentucky Speedway? Their most well-known stories probably all has to do with their parking lots.
It was doomed from the start.
Yeah.
Dang. Well, before we get completely off Kansas, I do want to kind of go again down the grid here and ask you guys just kind of fair or foul. What do you guys think of Jones's block on Boyer? Was it fair? Was it foul? What do you guys say?
It was completely fair. The last lap of the race, anything goes. It's not like he just like dumped him or something like that. I mean, he was just blocking him. He's trying to hold his position. I didn't see a problem with it.
That's fair.
It was the same exact block that Kenseth put on Logano, and it was fine with Kenseth doing it, but because it's Jones, they're upset with it. And I'll be completely honest, unless you're a Boyer fan or you don't like Jones, I don't understand how somebody could be like, that's a dirty move right there. It's like, no, where did Jones end up finishing in this race?
I think he was like fifth still got a top 5 finish.
Mm-hmm. What happens if he has the wrong positioning going into a corner 3 or 4 wide?
He's outside of the top 5 probably.
Yeah, he did what he had to do to gain the most points and have a shot at winning. I see nothing wrong with it, and I think that I like Clint Boyer, but he's completely in the wrong here.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that one. There was nothing wrong with that block. I've watched it so many times. I even watched it today knowing that we'd bring this up. And I was like, maybe I'm missing something because everybody's talking about it. I've watched it so many times. I'm like, what's wrong with it? Like, he just made a move on the last lap to
He
try to
blocked the wrong driver. That's the problem. He blocked the wrong driver. If it was like Keselowski or Kyle Busch, it's like, oh, shut your mouth. Stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing wrong at all with it.
And Sterling in the chat says third, so he finished third.
Okay, yeah.
Oh,
He would not have finished third had he not thrown that block.
Rusty, what do you think?
Like you guys said, last lap and it's racing, and I just think Clint Boyer's just obviously a little emotional because it's a really heated race. So I'm with you guys 100%.
For sure. Yeah, I understand. I completely understand. I'm on mostly Jones's side. I understand if you're a Boyer fan or if you're Clint Boyer himself, you'd be frustrated. You have the momentum. Guys have been putting blocks like that on you all race long, but in this case, it's the white flag lap. It's the same reason I didn't have a problem when Kenseth did it and why I was a little frustrated when Logano spun him. I didn't think that was absolutely necessary, but there's criticism both ways. I don't think it's a 100% right or wrong answer here, but it looked like most of the people in the chat also leaned in favor of Jones. Real quick, Benjamin in the chat with another super chat wanted to share with you guys. Thank you. He says, I want to share with you guys, I'll be an official media member at Kentucky. Well, it sounds like you might have a great race to watch.
Congrats, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, congratulations. And thank you for sharing that. And thank you so much for the super chat. I also want to mention we have 211 people watching live right now. We need to basically triple that like number to get to where our viewership is
Click
at.
the like button. Click the like button.
So
that like button.
For sure.
And also, fun fact, since we talk about the analytics and stuff of the show, me and Jarrett were close again in subscribers. So make sure you keep us both going.
I'm more focused on getting Rusty to 1,000. I love. I want him to join our club.
Let's do it.
So you alluded to this earlier, Jarrett, but do you guys want to talk a little bit about Kansas TV ratings for the Cup Series? So the overnight rating was actually slightly off from last year's Kansas race. Both run on FS1, both Saturday night races, I believe. So it was slightly off on the overnight ratings. I was a little concerned by that. I think we all were. It was like, dang, it was a good race this year. That's a shame. But then, as the week went on and they got the full survey, the full story, the full report, estimates say that we actually saw about a 7% increase in viewership this year compared to last year, which means more than 130,000 people roughly watched this race than last year's. We had around, I think what was the estimate? It was like around 2.2 million people. For an FS1 race on Saturday night, that's not too bad. What do you guys think about that? Cool to see ratings go up? I've seen this a few times this year.
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, especially for FS1 too, good ratings for them.
No, I hate it. I hate when people.
Yeah, this is my sport. No one else can watch it.
Yeah. What's funny is there's some fans like that too. So
Yeah,
that's the bad thing.
yeah.
So the thing that I really like about this, because at first, like when I saw the overnights, I was like, oh boy, it's right after the rain delayed race. It really is proving that, oh crap, it might have just been like a bunch of people just watching as a fad and they had nothing else to do and they dropped off. Then it's like they went up and it's like, okay, so they came back, because it's like we saw last week and we were looking at the numbers, and then even for a rain out, it was like, it was bad. But that's might be proving to be more of a fluke, which I'm completely fine with. I think we're all completely fine with that. So I'm really pleased with it. And I think that when it comes to all the tests that I said they needed to pass going into this year, to have the TV ratings go up, the only one left now is to keep the increases going on NBC, because they've proven with Fox and FS1 that they can have these continuous increases and flat lines, which for the direction the sport's been heading the last 15 years is a good first step. So even
with bad coverage sometimes Fox, oh my god, awful.
Fox
and you still have ratings going up. So good job.
Turned into a hilariosity. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I thought they were okay this week.
Yeah, they were okay this week, but most of the season, not the best.
All right, yeah. Did you have anything to say about that, Rusty? Or
you guys know me. I think it's cool the momentum is carrying over from last year. I like to just see all the good finishes, and the first half of this year has been better than the first half of last year. You guys remember where we were at then. So I just love to see all the positivity, all the better racing. Everything just feels like it's going in the right direction. And once NBC gets here, baby, let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, that's awesome. Last thing I want to talk about, Kansas related, I think, unless you guys throw anything else out there that we haven't mentioned. But Ross Chastain deserves more props, as if he hasn't already gotten a ton on social media this week. But Ross Chastain won the truck race Friday night. His first career truck win. He won in dramatic fashion. Stuart Friesen ran out of gas with a couple laps to go. Chastain gets the win driving for, I think you say, Nice Motorsports.
Nice Motorsports, yeah, it's Nice Motorsports.
I didn't know this, but apparently people were saying after the race that the truck he was driving was actually a 2016 truck, so definitely not the best equipment, but he was able to win at a 1.5 miles. We all know the story about Ross Chastain. Had a great opportunity with Ganassi last year, made the most of it. Unfortunately, because of DC Solar going bankrupt, didn't work out this year, but I mean, what do you guys have to think? Do you think Ross Chastain gets a good ride anytime soon?
Man, hold up. Forget Stuart Friesen. Or no. Forget Ross Chastain. Stuart Friesen is the most unluckiest Truck Series driver in recent memory. He's had like 5 second-place finishes now, and he still hasn't won yet. Poor guy. But yeah, Ross Chastain. I hope he gets a top level Cup ride next year. I really do. I hope he lands the number 1 ride next season. Hopefully for the 2020 season for sure.
Well, was that Chip Ganassi tweet real after that race?
Oh yeah,
where he says he likes winter.
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy.
I saw some people say that, and I didn't know this, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw some people say that Chastain is technically still under contract with Ganassi this year. They just amended it so that he could race for other teams because obviously they didn't have a car for him.
Yeah.
So it's not like, I think he's still under their umbrella, which is why I think a lot of people are speculating he could take Kurt Busch's spot since he's only on a 1-year deal, but then we still don't know. Monster Energy might want Kurt to stay. Kurt himself might want to stay, and he's obviously been great this year. You'd hate to kick Kurt Busch out after how he's performed. So that's what makes it tough. I don't know. It's kind of like the Christopher Bell situation. There's not really a spot for him.
Yeah.
I heard a rumor about Kurt Busch recently, and I will not say my sources, but I heard that next year the drivers may be taking a pretty drastic pay cut, which means Kurt is possibly not coming back because he's going to look at the pay cut and say, this money isn't worth me coming back. So just something to keep.
we've heard rumors like, oh, he's going to retire, he's going to run part-time next year, he's going to run for another team. We've heard a lot.
We've talked about the effects of the pay cuts and stuff on here before. That it seems like that might be what's going to be used to push some of these guys out. Why pay somebody millions when somebody can be paid hundreds of thousands to do the same job, maybe just as well,
or even better? Yeah,
they're even better. Yeah, because watermelons are good.
Yeah, and remember, it's currently watermelon season in Florida, according to.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Similar in a lot of ways in NASCAR, I guess, because you look at Furniture Row shut down basically because the value of what they were getting to what they learned about it was they were paying too less to Joe Gibbs' terms. So Joe Gibbs said, hey, you're going to pay this much for it now if you want it. Oh, no, we don't want to do that. But Levine Family Racing, hey, y'all haven't learned it as much. You can still pay this low price.
I know, like Truex for years, when he was with Furniture Row, was making less money than a lot of the top guys, running out of North Carolina. Like I know that was something that was mentioned while he was trying to build that team up before his championship. That was part of what made him a lovable underdog. And then obviously we've seen recently, Kenseth, Biffle, they both left because the contract wasn't worth it. Or in Kenseth's case, Gibbs just didn't want to pay him; they'd rather pay Jones. Biffle's case, they couldn't find enough sponsorship. He was going to have to take a pay cut. He didn't want to. So you've seen it happen. It wouldn't shock me if that happened to Kurt Busch. It's interesting, though, if that rumor's true, that it's more of a widespread industry thing where a lot of teams are all going to kind of be like, almost like in most sports, that's what's concerning about NASCAR. In a lot of sports, we hear about them raising the salary cap every year. NASCAR, it's almost like lowering it, which you got to do what you got to do. But that would be interesting if that is actually how it works out. Anyway, we can move on from Kansas, unless you guys have any other things you want to talk about. Best 1.5 mile race, we think in at least a few years, it sounds like. But any last words about Kansas, y'all?
It was great.
2 thumbs up. Great.
Yeah.
And until we get to Charlotte and I can see Bowman come in, I'll be blue boy in the corner. So.
Well, that's excellent. Well, this is a news story that I actually read yesterday. It was talked about a little bit yesterday on social media. You guys want to talk about Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway again? Because that drama is still not over. In fact, it sounds like it might just be getting started. Well, what I saw was SMI and the people at Fairgrounds pitched an idea to, I guess, like the Nashville Council or the City Council. I'm not exactly sure who they pitched it to. Somebody in power. And they pitched a $60 million kind of funding model that includes both public and private funding from different sources to renovate fairgrounds and make it suitable for NASCAR racing again. And this comes at the heels of Adam Stern, I saw tweeted that several people within NASCAR are talking about rotating the All-Star race, and two tracks that have been mentioned as possibilities for the host site of the All-Star race in the coming years, Martinsville and Nashville Fairgrounds. So with all this talk, it really sounds like NASCAR and SMI want Fairgrounds Speedway back. We know the drama that their ownership isn't really on great terms with the city of Nashville. There's a soccer stadium. There's an apartment complex right there. What do you guys make of this? Do you still think there's hope for Fairgrounds? Does it sound like they're doing the right things?
There is hope, but
There's hope for it.
But I don't know about a Cup Series date. Maybe start off slow. Maybe get the Truck Series first, and then eventually Xfinity. But to start off with the Cup Series, that's like very ambitious to me.
I mean, if they do make the proper adjustments and put a lot into it, maybe. But I mean, I've seen the track. It's not really ready right now.
What's the capacity? There?
Not that much. Like it probably no more than 40,000 right now.
Yeah.
Well, that's
I
about
think
how
it's
much,
like 45, something like that.
that's about how much Martinsville has right now, though.
Yeah, but the facility is definitely not up to date at all.
Well, that's where the $60 million comes in to help
Oh,
renovate it. And I saw another thing. One of the biggest issues right now, the biggest roadblock is, remember that apartment complex right next to the main entrance?
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
I mean, we can be hopeful all we want, but if that's so close to what they're saying, then I mean, there's essentially no way to get a race there. I mean, it won't work.
Here's the thing with Nashville. If you don't want to live next to a racetrack, don't live next to a racetrack. Because trust me, I'm here every day. They're literally building new apartments every single day. Go somewhere else.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's a fire code, right? Like I'm pretty sure legally you can't have that many people in the arena with a building that close to the entrance.
Yeah, it might be
Really?
something like that.
That's a law? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, for most stadiums.
There are literally houses across the street from Bristol Motor Speedway. What?
Well,
here's something that
the difference is the apartment complex being literally, I think they said 20 feet away from the entrance.
it's across
Yeah.
literally across the street. I remember I was talking with somebody over the weekend about just motorsports in general, and he brought up a really good point that motorsports in general's biggest problem is they're going against a culture that is as fast as it can trying to run away from motorsports. So as much as the city might benefit from it, and as much as fans want it, at the same time, there's a lot of people who just want nothing to do with racing. They want nothing to do with any motorsports in general being around them. And they will complain. They will make sure that they don't have it around them, even if it was there before they were there. And I think that's the biggest problem right now Nashville has, is the fact that as much as there's a lot of people that want to be, there, and a lot of people probably in Nashville that want this to happen, there's a lot more people that are going to be moving in. I mean, Tennessee and Nashville, Danny can probably say it's a growing economy. There's more people moving in from all over the country, and it's not in a motorsports culture. So I think that's the biggest problem we're facing right now, and something that a lot of people, I mean, we've talked about it, but a lot of people aren't talking about with this, and it's only going to get more difficult as we go. And how you doing, WinVal?
Yeah,
Hey, WinVal, how's it going, man? But the renovation costs $60 million. I was like, wow, that's a lot more money than I ever anticipated for them to put into that facility.
You know what's funny is that who owns it? SMI, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so SMI, one of those big companies that owns it, is going to pay for it themselves. And nobody, everyone's having a problem with this being there in the middle of the city and blah blah blah. Meanwhile, you have all these NFL stadiums that are using taxpayer dollars to pay billions of dollars for stadiums.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm a Vikings fan, but there's no reason that the people of Minnesota should have their tax dollars going towards a $1.7 billion stadium.
Yeah, Vegas is paying to watch the Raiders lose in person.
So, I just have to ask, aside from you not liking racing, what is a good reason for people to be like, me living here across the street in a building that I could probably get anywhere else, and probably with this, if the track does go and go ahead with this, will cost more to live there. What is really holding them back, I guess? What is holding people back other than they don't want racing around?
Well, that's the thing. I don't think there's anything else. I think it's just just what you just said. They just simply don't want, racing culture and, racing around. I think it's more of a the reason for that is it's probably more of a perception thing, perhaps. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, I think, and Jared, I think you hit it on the nail when you were saying people are moving in from out of town. A lot of these people are moving in that aren't, maybe from the South or like blue collar areas. So they come in and they just think of NASCAR and they're like, oh no, that like redneck racist sport. I don't want that around.
Absolutely.
The MLS stadium over here, that's cool because that's like a new hip thing. But
It's
like
more hip, it's more millennial.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's mostly it.
When in reality, like NASCAR is just there's nothing really wrong. Like there are some bad parts of the fan base, but there's a lot of good parts of it too. I mean,
the thing is the sport originated in the South, and like I know people on the West Coast have a very, very bad image of Southerners, even though they shouldn't. But
here's what I got to ask about same deal with West Coast and stuff, and I don't hashtag not all because I really don't jump on them, but if I generalize, people will jump on me here. But okay, so there's a stereotype of the racist redneck NASCAR fan. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
And I think we can all agree that there's probably some of those fans around, but it is a very small amount.
Mm-hmm.
There's literally a team out on the West Coast. I think it's the Oakland Raiders that are literally known for like fighting, stabbing other teams.
So toxic. Yeah, I know.
But I mean, they're known as a great football team with a great history, not great anymore. Great history, and it's a shame they're leaving their fans in Oakland that stab Chargers fans on the regular.
Well, and I'll say this too. I've been to NFL games. Mostly NFL's the worst. Almost every NFL game I go to, if there's an away fan like Cowboys Texans, I'll have to walk past drunk people fighting like every single time. I've been to so many NASCAR races. And I camp out in Talladega in these rowdy areas. Never seen a fight. Never seen an altercation. People are so friendly and nice. So even if they are like rednecks, which a lot of times they are, especially at Talladega, they're very nice. They're like, hey, man, you want a beer? Like, I've never had a problem.
Yeah, I've been going to races out here since 2004, and like I've never had one negative encounter once. Like they're just like, "Hey, how's it going?" That sort of thing. Like, "Hey, you want a beer?" Like all that.
The deal with Dateline in 2006, NASCAR fans in the heart of the South, less than
Martinsville,
4 years, in Martinsville, less than 4 years after 9/11, or less than 5 years after 9/11, were baited by NBC and didn't take the bait. Like.
Yeah. But when they went to NFL and MLB games, people took the bait for sure there. But it's like that's the thing that it's been proven over and over again that the stereotype, for the most part, especially the bad parts of the stereotype, aren't there. Like the misconception it irks me.
You know what I think? When I go to a race and I see someone who doesn't fit the stereotype for a NASCAR fan there, I think to myself, I don't think something like, oh, what is this? That doesn't fit. No, I think that's awesome. We need more of this. We need more diversity of fans here.
Well, it's just a fan. It's just a fan. There's like no need to put labels on it. It's just like another fan, right there, watching the race with me and stuff. Like, hey, hey, another black guy here. I don't see any of you and stuff. Yeah, come over here.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, it shouldn't be something like it shouldn't be the fact that you think, oh, it's just a bunch of white guys here. No, it should be just everybody's here. We're here.
Yeah,
we all here at the party.
You know what's funny is I remember in class earlier this week we were talking about NASCAR because some of the people in my class know about my channel, and I literally had one girl come up to me and say, "Yeah, I used to think that all of the NASCAR drivers were just a bunch of like late 30s, early 40s white dudes and stuff, just drinking beer and just wrecking each other, basically all that stuff." And I was like, wow. I was like, wow, that is so outdated. I don't like it's like, everyone like motorsports in general. People have a very outdated views on it. Like not just NASCAR. That's including IndyCar, F1. All types of motorsports in America. I don't know why that's the case, but I don't know. Maybe it's a few fans making the rest of us look bad, possibly.
Well, I think also when it's all motorsports, at least in America, because F1 is totally different, but in America it seems like motorsports is more people that like to like cars, working on cars, going fast in cars. That's usually more of like an uneducated blue collar type person. So I think that just kind of puts this blanket over anybody that's a fan of any motorsport.
Yeah. And again, it really all goes back to NASCAR's history. If it didn't originate in the South in the late 1940s, then I think maybe NASCAR wouldn't have all of these stereotypes. Let's say like, oh, NASCAR originated in like Canada or like California, then I think those stereotypes aren't there.
Yeah. I think those are all a lot of very interesting points. That was a good debate right there. I want to quickly bring up a couple super chats because one of them segues into our next topic here. Freedom of Everything, thank you for the 2. He says, I just wish they would drop the 4-car rule. Where do we stand on that? I don't even really know. How do you guys feel about the 4-car?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Jared made a video about it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
drop it. There's no need anymore. It just limits the amount of cars that we actually could have out there.
It just makes no sense. Oh, we want less cars. What?
Back in 2009, when there was a problem of so many people not qualifying for races, yeah. But now we can't even get 43 cars anymore. So
we can't even get 38.
But even back then, don't you have to pay fees to qualify? So like the more cars, that's like the more money coming into the sport, maybe. Like even if
ownership, I think you should be allowed to.
Yeah.
Plus, there are drivers like poor Cole Custer. He can't do nothing. He has to stay in Xfinity Series forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Christopher Bell too.
Damned forever to the Xfinity Series.
I read it.
Yeah. The only fear I could have, and I'll play devil's advocate here. I know that's your role, Jared, but I'm sorry to steal your name for a second. But the only fear I can have, the purpose of the 4-car rule is if you get rid of it, if you eliminate it, I do fear that the superpower teams would eventually take over, and it would be hard for eventually with Gibbs, because we talked about the NASCAR. You gotta to do well in NASCAR, you gotta have money. But how do you do well in NASCAR, or how do you make money in NASCAR? You do well, and so it's just kind of Joe Gibbs, Stewart Haas, Team Penske always win. They always make the most money. They get the best brand deals. And if we eliminated the 4-car limit, I'd fear, Roush used to have 5, and Hendrick I think had 5 at one point. I think if you let that go too long, it might get to the point where Hendrick, Gibbs, Penske, Stewart Haas are all of NASCAR. It'd obviously be a long way down the line, but that'd be the only fear. It would hurt small teams, but it'd be a long way off.
Even then, let's be real. When Roush had 5, only 3 of them were good, really.
They had 5 make the playoffs in one year. So
2005, yeah, that was their fate.
I see where you're coming from. And I agree to a certain extent, but at the same time, and I addressed this too when I made my video, it seems like at this point though, there's really just there's like 4 kind of teams. There's Chevy, Ford, Toyota, and the back markers that don't get any attention paid to them, because all the teams have alliances in some way or another. All the teams it's really just the same people making the same engines or the same bodies and so on. So I would kind of argue that we're already sort of at the point that Gibbs has really taken over with the Toyotas and Penske with the Fords, and I don't know, Hendrick and Ganassi are linked. They have alliances, so really Hendrick and Ganassi have taken over with the Chevys. So I'd say we've sort of already hit that point.
Yeah, because if you think about it, like if you think about the amount of drivers combined between Hendrick, Gibbs, Penske, Stewart Haas, and one more team, really, like that could be an entire playoffs right there.
Yeah. Well, other super chat we had here, and this leads into the next topic I wanted to talk about. Some rumors that I guess sort of surfaced today. We can talk about a little bit. I'm sure that'll take up some time. Anti-France. I hope that means anti like Brian France, not necessarily anti the country France. We love our French viewers, but anti-France sends 5 saying, "What do you think about Richard Petty Motorsports possibly selling their charter to RCR for Reddick?" So this is the rumor that, I'll be honest, I don't know how legitimate it is. It's been floating around Reddit. I guess I can kind of give the backstory. I'll let you guys explain it a little bit too. But the rumor is that Richard Petty Motorsports has an announcement they're going to make next week, and a lot of people are speculating. Some people seem to know for sure that it's going to be RCR either drastically scaling back their Cup Series program. Did I say RCR? I meant RPM, Richard Petty Motorsports. Scaling back their program significantly or completely ending it after the Coke 600. There's speculation that Bubba Wallace could be out of a ride entirely in a week from now. So I don't know about that. It's still speculation. It's only rumors. Bob Pockris tweeted out that he had spoke to the majority owner of Richard Petty Motorsports. I'm blanking on his name. It starts with an M. And he had said in his quote that nothing big's happening to Richard Petty Motorsports, but you never know, that could just be deflecting at this point. But this has led to speculation with Bubba Wallace. Last week he broke down in his press conference saying that he's going through a really tough time here. There's speculations that it has more to do with off-the-track issues that we don't really know much about, but some people think it could have to do with behind the scenes, Richard Petty Motorsports getting ready to close their doors. I know we've talked about how Richard Petty Motorsports has been struggling for months and months now, but I'll start with you, Darian, because I know you're very passionate about this topic. But how do you feel about these rumors? Do you think they're true? And what do you think? Where do you think Bubba? Where do you think Richard Petty goes from here?
It's like beating a dead horse at this point, man. Richard Petty, he has nobody to blame but himself. He has not gotten with today's NASCAR. Still doing handshake deals in 2019. Like, come on. And then the performance-wise, from his team. From him wasting Eric Almirola to pretty much destroying Bubba's career at this point. It's very unfortunate. It's really going to be weird if the 43 shuts down and not seeing a 43 car out there really for the first time since when, Jarrett? Like the very beginning,
Close to the beginning, because I know Lee Petty drove the 43 for a long time.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate, but I had tweeted out I only really see two scenarios here, and that's the first one being they're gonna scale back to a part-time team in 2020, and they are going to be selling the charter to RCR for Tyler Reddick's full-time ride for the 31 car in 2019, or the second option is they're going to sell the charter anyways and just completely dissolve. And Bubba is screwed either way, and that's very unfortunate. And I don't know where his career is going to be heading at this point. I know some people were saying like, well, if they shut down during the season, maybe he can drive the 31. No, that's not happening. I don't think that's happening. Like Tyler Reddick's that's his ride. Yeah.
If the problem is getting sponsors for Bubba, it's going to exist no matter if they say, hey, get sponsors, you can drive the 31. It was already a problem.
Yeah, so, there's that. And maybe like there might be some glimmer of hope here. Maybe like we're just overreacting. Maybe Richard Petty Motorsports has some huge announcement next week. Maybe they finally found some full-time funding. I doubt it at this point. And also, they are changing their name from back to Petty Enterprises. So, to me, what that says to me in my mind, you started off as Petty Enterprises. Let's finish off as Petty Enterprises here. A farewell tour, if you will, in like the worst way imaginable. So.
It's not gonna happen. But what if they just come out and said we're switching to Toyota?
There's Danny plugging the Toyota again.
Not really that. I would just want to say like all the NASCAR fans go berserk.
Yeah, all the older fans. Oh my God! Oh, back in my day, we didn't have that's great.
I was about to say Danny's never off the job. He's never off the clock. But I'll go next really quick since I'm already on it a little bit. So I'm looking at it from a little different angle. I think it is definitely a sad thing. As someone, especially me, who enjoys looking back at my favorite part of watching back in the day, like 12 years ago, 13 years ago, was always seeing those iconic cars, the 21 and the 43 and so on and so forth. So in that regard, it's really sad. I mean, if they have to scale back the way that the Wood brothers did, I've been saying since last season they should have been doing that, but they didn't. And then you look, and if they do just drop off the map, that's terrible too. It's really definitely a loss for future generations to at least see that and learn about the history of the 43. But I think that there can be a lot of lessons learned from this, especially for a lot of teams that are sort of I wouldn't say falling right now, but on the verge of falling. And one of them is like Darian touched on, you got to adapt with the times. We can say that it was the last few years they didn't adapt, but in realistic terms, really, you could kind of see the fall of Petty Enterprises, aka RPM, from around the last few years of Petty's career onward. It's been a slow and gradual decline now that we're actually about to get there.
Well, remember, they were actually rumored to be shutting down after the 2008 season, but then Ray Abraham stepped up and gave him basically what was left of his team, and then even like 10 years later, they're about to get that. Yeah,
And it was essentially a Band-Aid. And honestly, I think Marcus Ambrose was the best driver that they ever had to help them get through for a few years.
Yeah.
So I was going to get to that.
Sorry.
Another thing that I think they need a big lesson is not to rely solely on having so many eggs in one or two baskets. And that was one right there with the merger with Ray Evernham and having that sort of added money put into the team. That right there is a big part. Like they were relying on that probably for a few years. And then the big one and what really kept this team alive through the early 2010s is relying on the Smithfield sponsorship. They relied on that just to keep at least one car out there. They relied on that one sponsorship for years. And then when that sponsorship left, the performance went down with it. And it wasn't just a slowly and gradually decline until, of course, it got more and more rapid towards the end. I'm hoping that we're just overreacting here, but I don't think so.
I don't think we are. I think we're pretty spot on, man. Oh, go ahead.
I agree. I think it was the downfall was with Smithfield, like you said, Jared. That was the beginning of the end for them. And if any young new driver is going to bring you new sponsorships, it's Bubba Wallace, right? I mean, that guy is a walking sponsor. And so it's really unfortunate, like Darian said, for him, because he's really not getting a fair shot. But I think y'all are right. I think that this is going to be the news. Darian, the way you put it, there's two options, right? They're either going to have to fall back to a part-time and eventually just sell it to RCR or just fold completely, which either way is bad for Bubba Wallace. I think his career is not totally over. He might, still be able to find something because I think he can pull in sponsors. He's really marketable. And I mean, I don't want to say there is a small thing that I'm a little excited for, and it has nothing to do with this news. But, after watching Tyler Reddick finish 9th in this last race, I was tweeting like, RCR, you got to bring 31 back full time and put Tyler Reddick in it. And then I hear this news that it's going to happen, but at the cost of what? So it's kind of like I'm excited to see Tyler Reddick, if this is going to happen, see him drive full time. And that would be great for RCR. And they might as well just buy the 43 if that's the point, if that's the problem, right? Like, you don't need to run the 31, just buy the 43 and put Tyler Reddick in it. I hope Bubba Wallace lands somewhere. But can you imagine a team that has 3, 8, and 43? I mean, that's just all they do is sell merch. They don't even have to win a race.
I can just imagine the 43 in the Richard Childress font.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, yeah. Pretty nice.
Rusty, what do you think about these rumors? Then I have something I want to say.
Yeah, I'll make a couple quick points. Kind of behind the scenes, I've been crediting you guys. All the hints have been there for a year now. You guys have been documenting it through your videos, doing it on the podcast. It's the signs are there. And then about the response from Pockrace's, I don't remember his source at RPM, but the same thing was coming out of Furniture Row when there was rumors of them closing. Like, they kept denying it. They said, we're going to operate business as usual. Took a while, took about a month later, and then they ended up breaking the news on that. So I think it's pretty much a lock unless they do go part-time or something. But so that's kind of what I wanted to say about that. And then I do think they're going to lease the 43 too. RCR is Rattlesnake. I'm forgetting your name. Sorry. But, so I think they're going to lease the 43 number to RCR and sell merch. It's going to be a cool deal to see the 3 and the 43s, you said. And then the other point I wanted to make is just if Bubba's out of a cup ride, it doesn't mean his career's over. I mean, I personally would love to see him in the trucks or even Xfinity. I want to see him succeed anywhere. And if that's in the truck series, if he's winning races in the trucks, I'd rather have him kick butt in the trucks and run around 30th in cup. So it is a little bit of a downer for Bubba, but it doesn't mean kind of like what you see with Chastain. It doesn't mean his career is over yet.
Yeah, I think that is an important point. So it sounds like the 5 of you guys all buy that that's what this rumor is. That's the thing that you guys think that they're likely going to be shutting down or scaling back.
I think what sells me, there's a few things that sell me on it. One's just the gradual decline. We saw it going over time, and it just seems like it's the next logical step, either a downsize in the schedule, going part-time, or just going off. And then the other big part of it is too, the person who told us the rumor earlier today about it was just, he straight up was the one who called the Ryan Preece news months before it was like a sniff in the wind of any of it.
Yeah.
And he's helped us with some other stuff before. So I'd give it, if we want to go like percentage of what the likelihood is, I'd say 80-85%. I think there's still that realistic possibility that it might just be like, hey, we're actually announcing our paint scheme. It's just, we're making the worst possible way of announcing it.
That would be the best possible way to announce it. You're just like freaking everybody out, and you're like, check out this paint scheme. It's Air Force again. It's purple.
I think everyone would probably be pissed off.
Oh gosh.
But it just says now you know what it means to you.
What if it is that? Because it is getting to be about throwback announcement time. My gosh.
That's honestly what I was thinking, because I hear these rumors and I pay attention to a lot of things. I hear the majority owner of Richard Petty Motorsports say it has nothing to do with them closing. I've most of these rumors originate on Reddit. That's what I saw, and then obviously we have our friend that mentioned it as well. I think it's very likely that this is what this announcement is, but I will not. I'm not going to stand out here and say outright that I definitely think that's what it is, or that I'm even remotely confident that that's what it is, because not only are we heading up to the Coke 600, where we've already seen like Jimmy Johnson's revealed a new paint scheme, people are revealing new paint schemes left and right for the Coke 600. We just saw today, or whenever it was, today or yesterday, Martin Truex Jr. revealed his throwback car. I remember Matt Kenseth in 2017. Now obviously he did ultimately leave Gibbs that year, but early on in the season he had a big announcement planned. And everyone was like, Matt Kenseth's about to announce something. Junior's retired. Matt Kenseth's going to announce his retirement. And Matt Kenseth shows up. Oh, no, he's got a new sponsor. And it was like, oh, okay. So if we get to next week, and I've not seen any official like press release that says Richard Petty Motorsports has booked the NASCAR Hall of Fame for Tuesday at 4 for an announcement. I've not seen that anywhere. I don't know if that exists anywhere. So I'm not going to get too far ahead of everybody else. I think, yes, Richard Petty Motorsports is in trouble, and they could still close their doors at the end of this year, regardless of whatever announcement this is this week. I would be surprised. As much as we've talked on the show, as much as I've talked on my show about how Richard Petty Motorsports is struggling, the end looks like it's near, I will still be surprised, even after all these rumors, I will be surprised if they announce their closing next week. That would still be a shock to me. But,
well, the only other thing, too, is don't you think that this kind of aligns and correlates really perfect timing with Bubba's, like, depression? Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I can say depression or not, but he's been all over social media.
Yeah.
If we can't call that depression, it's making me depressed.
That is like the key giveaway to me that something is up. Something's up with him personally. Something's up with him in his job situation. Something is up.
I would say, and I obviously can't speak to this, I've seen the rumors and the reports apparently suggested that he and his girlfriend broke up. I think that's the origin of most of his kind of just dark times recently. I did see a report recently, or a quote from him, where he says driving race cars is what's making him, like, keeping him sane, is the way he phrased it. So that makes me think it's not necessarily a job-related stress there's stress, obviously, he's not performing, but I don't think that's the driving force behind that. But that is a good point. I think it's a lot of things coming together all at once. Throwback schemes, Coke 600 stuff, we're a third of the way through the season. Bubba's in a bad place. The results aren't there. It's just all kind of hitting at the exact same time. And I don't know if... I still wouldn't be shocked if at the end of this year they announce that they have to close down. I will be surprised still, even after all we've talked about. I'll be surprised if next week they say they're closing. That would be surprising.
If it is a throwback scheme, I hope it's a throwback to the late Adam Petty. I hope that's it.
That would be cool. Turn a negative into a positive.
Nice.
Yeah. So I know my notes as far as news from this week. We have a few little things we can touch on. I know, Jarrett, you might have a couple things you want to mention. But other than that, we have plenty of time to talk about All-Star Race stuff. But I'll leave the floor open. Do any of you guys have anything else y'all wanted to talk about before we get into the All-Star Race?
There was the Danny touched upon it. He might be the better one to bring it up about Roger Haynes.
I talked about it a little bit on Danny B. Needs a Minute. So Roger Haynes, you may not know that name, but you definitely know who he is. If you ever see before the Talladega Super Speedway races, the big semi truck that runs around with John American flag. Well, Roger Haynes was the man who always drove that truck around, and he sadly passed away over the weekend after battling cancer. So I don't know for sure if he was the one who drove it this past race because I don't know how his condition was because it's obviously not been that long.
No,
ago.
he wasn't there.
Okay.
They even said on the broadcast he wasn't there.
Okay. So, well, there is someone who it does appear that someone will carry it on. That's good to hear. But very sad he was the one who did it for the longest time here recently. So, a NASCAR legend that you may not really know about.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I did see something before we went live I thought was kind of interesting. Tonight, I know, I think it's Martin Truex Jr.'s foundation, I want to say, or somebody's foundation is putting on kind of like a gala type thing in Charlotte. And I saw an interesting clip on Twitter of Martin Truex Jr., the 2017 champion, passing on the Champions Journal, I guess, to Joey Logano, the now 2018 champion. And it was kind of, I don't know, they looked fine on camera, but it was awkward to me in my head just because after they're running at Martinsville.
Very awkward. Very awkward.
Little photo shoot right there. I thought that was an interesting tidbit. I wish I had the video pulled up so I could share it with you guys.
He handed it over and goes, "You won the damn war." I can just imagine him
He
being.
knights him right there on the spot, you know.
I can just imagine Logano though, after winning the championship, though, going backstage and seeing Truex there and be like, "I won the war."
I won the war.
Just turns into a Game of Thrones
Being a
episode.
douchebag about it.
Carnation should do this. You should make a to be continued Vine out of Truex saying that.
No matter what it was not nearly as awkward as when Brian France handed the mic over to Truex 2 years ago. Remember that on stage?
Oh, it was awful. Yeah.
It's so bad to think about.
Oh, that's rough. Yeah. Really quick, we have a super chat from the Black Hole Guy. Thank you for the $5. Thanks for all the amazing NASCAR content each one of you make. Y'all all do a great job. Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to
Thanks,
say.
man. Appreciate it.
He also says, P.S. Eric, do you want a copy of the essay I wrote? Or are you the person? There's somebody who messaged me on Twitter. I'm blanking on his name. I apologize. But he asked if he could interview him for an essay he was writing for one of his classes, and it was very nice. He sent me the link to the essay. I read it. It was a very well written essay about NASCAR's rise and fall and everything along those lines. I'm not sure if that's the same person, but either way, if you have an essay, I don't know, publish it.
Tell him to come write for Belly Up Sports, man.
Yeah.
We're always looking for NASCAR writers.
Perfect. Yes. DM at Chairgating on Twitter.
Yeah.
And he can hook you up. But yeah, thank you for the super chat. And we also got, what is this? An animated super chat?
Hey, you.
I like it.
That's a freaking pair, dance.
Oh, the people listening on SoundCloud are gonna not know anything we're talking
Yeah,
about.
so-
It makes it even funnier.
So Smooth7 just sent $2, and there's a dancing pear with a headband. All right. That's the
funny.
best I can describe it for you audio listeners. Sorry. You should tune in live Wednesday nights on YouTube. It costs nothing. No, yeah, so with that, do we want to talk a little bit about the All-Star race? Because there are some differences regarding the rules package this year. Obviously different from last year's rules package in the All-Star race, where they obviously ran restrictor plates, and it was kind of wild. Not doing that this year. No, we're just running the typical 550 horsepower engines that we've seen in most other mile and a halves this year. Big rear spoiler, aero ducts, splitter, all that type of stuff. But the one change, and I saw a picture, I had it pulled up on my phone so I can just show you guys really quick rather than have to do that. They have the I guess, hood ducts. Exhaust is now coming out through the hood. So there's this
They got nostrils, Eric. They got nostrils.
It literally, nostrils is the right way to say it. Let's see. There it is. That's what the hood is going to look like. You see those nostrils there in the dead center? Yeah.
Yep.
Now, that is a leaked photo. I don't know if that photo is legitimate. We haven't actually seen for sure what these cars look like.
It is legitimate because if you go, the video I put out today where I talked about Martin Truex Jr.'s paint scheme for the All-Star race, the rendering has those. So that is legit.
Oh, perfect. I didn't see that. And thank you, BGM Productions, for the $1. Really appreciate that. But yeah, so I don't know. How do you guys feel? Well, one, do you think the package, what kind of racing do you think we can expect Saturday night? But then two, I mean, what do you like the look of the nostrils?
It's different. I mean, I gotta say it's different. I mean, it's a different look. But as far as the racing goes, I'm not really sure. I mean, maybe it might be similar to the type of racing we had last year. I'm not sure. We'll see.
I think it'll be. We can always try something once. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
I see in the chat it's Rusty's Great Five says, I can't imagine what those engines would sound like straight coming out of those. Or, yeah. So that's something. But the way I see it is if it works, I don't care how ugly it looks. You know, I would have loved the COT if the racing was better.
Yeah, the All-Star race is basically just a glorified test session anyways nowadays. So, I mean, like whenever NASCAR's testing, they're like, hey, let's just throw it in the All-Star race and see.
Throw everything at it. Who cares?
All right. Hey,
Throw it at it.
this year, you guys are you're riding bicycles. Get out there. Go on.
What if it puts on the greatest show of all time? And is there any chance they might try using it a little bit later in the season, maybe before?
If the racing's great, then yeah, I mean, I could see them. Well, I could see them trying this next season. Not this season though. The next season.
If they do test it, it'll be at Michigan probably.
There were 3 races this season where they say the full package is being used. What were those again?
It was like Pocono and like Darlington. That just meant they're using the aero ducts the way they are at the other tracks.
Yeah.
I mean, the nostrils. That's not the full package.
No, the nostrils are they're testing the nostrils for the Gen 7.
Just the fact that we're calling it nostrils.
That's the best way to call them, the nostrils.
The hood ducts. What are they actually called? Just the hood.
The
vents.
hood ducts. No. Nostrils sound way funnier.
You know what's funny about the nostril cars is that if Brian France drove one, it would have a bunch of white powder around it.
Oh goodness.
Oh my God.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah. And that's not even the only change this week, but it's the most exciting one. I think they're also running a different splitter. I don't remember the exact differences on it. I don't think it's anything super notable.
Get rid of the splitter, man. I hate
why don't we try a valence for All-Star race? Let's try that one, guys. Let's see what happens.
Apparently they're terrified of valences.
Oh my gosh.
The splitter I saw looked just like the ones they use for the plate tracks, where it's like the sides are a little further out than the middle of it. So I assume they're just gonna sit and basically throwing that at it, being like, yeah, that'll work.
Yeah, that's a car.
Get rid of the freaking splitter, man. Oh my god.
Hey, wait, let's test with the valence and have ride height like Matt
yeah.
Mormon in the chat says.
Let's do it.
A few people in the chat remind me here. Yeah, it's a carbon fiber splitter, and then was it who sent that? Matt Mormon mentioned ride height. That's what they're changing it for. It's supposed to like. I don't exactly know what I'm talking about, but I do remember reading something. It's supposed to kind of widen the range. You know, they try to get these cars sealed to the ground right now, but in this case, they're trying to get it so they can kind of widen that range to where the sweet spot's wider. They don't have to get the cars perfectly sealed to get them to run right. They can kind of keep them in a different position, and it'll still be fine. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I know that's what he's mentioning when he mentions ride height. So it's another thing they're testing for the Gen 7 potentially, but we don't know exactly. Obviously, if it fails, crashes and burns this weekend, it's probably not going to be on the Gen 7. So we'll see.
Hashtag Team Valence. Hashtag Team Valence.
Yeah, I see you starting that in the chat. There you go.
Starting a revolution here.
Yeah.
They can't silence all of us.
If we can get nostrils and valence, we got the perfect car, boys.
Oh man, it's gonna be interesting though. It's gonna be really interesting because I think last year, there wasn't really any talk about the package we have right now until a few weeks after the All-Star race, or people were gauging it. At the time, it was probably the best received race of the year. Granted, the bar they had to go over was buried 7 feet under the ground. But at the same time, if this race is good, I wouldn't be surprised if this is what we see in 2020 and in the Gen 7. If it's bad, I still wouldn't be surprised if this is what we see in the 2020 car in the Gen 7. So we'll see. It's a good gauge, I guess.
Yeah, the nostrils. It's gonna go down in infamy the way the wing did in the car tomorrow. So
it's gonna go down like the splitter too.
Oh,
what
gosh.
if we had nostrils on the Gen 4? Ooh.
What if they get debris stuck on their nostrils the way
Good
the way they do with
Oh,
like the
my
grill? I
There's
know.
a Cheeto tag in my nostril, guys. Can we get it out of there?
Yeah, watch it get stuck in there, and then the engine just blows up.
What if Michael Waltrip spills a taco down someone's nostrils?
Oh, God.
Oh no! What happens if a seagull gets sucked in?
Oh goodness, well, this is fun. I'm curious, you guys. The All-Star race. I feel like last year we talked a lot about it because of the experimental package. But I'm curious, what was y'all's favorite All-Star race that you remember watching, either in person or I don't know if how many of us have been to All-Star races in person. I know I haven't, but on TV, what's y'all's favorite All-Star race that you can remember?
I'd say the 2005 one. Mark Martin won that race. He was about to retire, but then he pulled out last minute. And then there was this huge wreck on the straightaway, and then Joe Nemechek and Kevin Harvick they were getting mad at one another, and then even one of Nemechek's crew guys even got involved in it a little bit there. So that one probably sticks out the most.
Getting a lot of varying answers in the chat here. That's interesting.
A lot of 2009s too. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, 2009 came to mind.
I really liked
2009.
I really liked the 2014 one when Jamie McMurray won. I actually enjoyed that one.
Oh yeah.
I'd say 2009, or I really enjoyed 2007. Especially, I mean, you get that the Bush brothers going at it. That was pretty good. I'll be honest. After 2009 until last year, I really didn't like any of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I know some people like even in 2015, and maybe it's me being a Dale Jr. fan, and since he pretty much always sucked in the All-Star race when I watch. But I mean, even 2015 when he did well, and there was a bit of a good finish, I was not really a fan of the All-Star race. In fact, before the All-Star race last year, I was ragging and raving about how we need to get rid of it, because and I'm glad we didn't this past year. But going back to the initial
Remove it. Remove it too.
yeah, that's the one I'm all for. 07 or 09 is probably for me.
You know,
06 is underrated though.
Oh yeah.
I say I really enjoyed the 2014 one. The racing was good. It had a really good winner in my opinion. Feel good for Jamie. Another thing I really liked about that year was when they did the 100,000 camera project. And honestly, I wish that they would do that again.
They do it for Talladega.
Huh?
They do it for Talladega. They had something for Chase Elliott to win 100,000 cameras.
Really?
Oh, like Fox did. Yeah, I guess Fox's I prefer that more though.
I wish they would
15 for juniors win at Talladega.
I would challenge them to do it again for the Bristol Night Race, because that's one that a lot of us are going to be going to. I would love to be a part of that project.
That'd be amazing.
I think the most funniest one was 2001. You had the rain coming out, and then they let them pull out their backup cars.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then they had to trick them out.
Yeah,
Too.
I forget that.
Yeah, Gordon, he was wrecked 1 minute, and then the next he's winning the race too.
I
mean, in a car that's more than likely illegal too.
I don't really know what the fans thought really back then. Honestly, if that happened today, I think there'd be a lot of mad fans no, you can't do that. Kyle Busch, he wrecked.
Oh yeah.
I'll tell you what, the drivers who didn't wreck in that rain delayed one, they were pretty hot from what I can remember and what I've seen. They were like, wait a minute, I saved my car and had enough talent to save it, and these people that crashed, they get to come back out.
Yeah, Junior was pretty pissed. I remember him talking about that.
Yeah, so that the All-Star, don't get me wrong, the All-Star race has plenty of great. I mean, you go all the way back to the pass in the grass, and you have he can choke on that. What was it back then? Was it 1 million or 500K? I can't remember.
Choke on that 500, 200K, 500K.
One hot night. Waltrip winning in the 21 car. A lot of people don't remember that one. You have Junior winning in his rookie year, being the first rookie to do it. You have the rain one there. You have Newman winning in his rookie year. I mean, there's plenty of great memories from the All-Star race that we wish we had a segment we could just put oh yeah, here's 10, 9, 8, 7,
Does anyone remember the one at Atlanta? They had the one at Atlanta. I think it was the second time they ran it. It was at Atlanta Motor Speedway one year.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure most of us on this panel weren't really even a concept at that point.
Yeah, I'm asking in chat. There's someone in chat who was at the race, probably, maybe. I don't know.
Looking back, the 08 one was pretty impressive, because that's back when Casey Kane, he won the All-Star Open. That's back when you actually had to win the All-Star Open to get in or finish second. I think it wasn't okay, win the stage and you just relax, you'll get in. No, I mean he had to work to win the whole race.
No. Did you say Casey Kane? He won that? No, I think he got fan voted in.
He got
No, I think that was Sam Hornish. He won that race.
I thought he won 09.
No. He won one of those, but no. Casey Kane got fan voted in.
Well, okay. Take that back then. Regardless, he got into it after running a whole race and then coming from the very back then. Mm-hmm. If he got fan voted, he came from the very back and still won it. That's pretty impressive.
And also, Michael Waltrip, before he won the 500, he won an All-Star race, and he ran 5th in the Open. And back then, the top 5 got they got into the All-Star race at the time, and he ended up winning the race too. So that was a huge upset.
Yeah, a lot of good ones. Hopefully this year's lives up to it. Honestly, nobody mentioned last year's. I actually thought last year's was really fun. It was kind of annoying. I thought the Open race was better than the All-Star race. But
The Open race. Yeah, that was really good.
No, I will agree with the Open race was better, and the Open race usually is better. But everyone almost universally loved last year's race in the All-Star race. I mean, it was probably one of the most positive ones of the year. Does anyone else remember the fact that Kevin Harvick was out front by a full second the whole time?
I do.
Yeah.
Suddenly, racing other than the lead, it mattered suddenly, and that it was a good race. I don't notice that. I noticed
You
that.
know,
Oh.
the only car I remember that looked like it could be fast enough to compete with him hit the wall, and that was AJ Allmendinger. I really think if it wasn't for that, he would have had a really strong chance that night.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also, your boy, Alex Bowman, he won one of those open races too.
David Reagan didn't win the 2012 Open. Junior did.
Yeah.
No, I was talking about the.
No, I'm looking in the chat. Evan Neckwood put David Reagan won the 2012.
Yeah.
Oh no, Junior won it.
Yeah, Junior won that one.
Yeah.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
It's the first time in almost 4 years I got to see him win. You think I'd forget that?
Yeah, I was like, oh, he won something.
And he did quite well in the actual one too. So
Yeah.
I'm going down memory lane, or we should have a name for this segment of nostalgic Dale Jr. fans, because it seems like Darian, Danny, and I go down this nostalgic train
Way back.
every other week.
It's fun to watch.
Ignore us. We're gonna go back and look at our old Dale Jr. merchandise, and we're just gonna
Sponsored by Credit One Bank.
I don't have any Dale Jr. merchandise in here.
Wow.
You mentioned talk about Alex Bowman doing good. That might be a good segue to talk about how we think this weekend's gonna go.
That's what I was gonna say. The Open. We can start with the Open, since that'll be happening Saturday afternoon. Well, let's start with the fan vote. I know when we checked the fan vote last week. What was that? Oh, I thought I heard something. I'm sorry. When we looked at the fan vote last week, I know Matt DiBenedetto was leading, and then we had Larson, I think Bowman, Byron, Suarez, Bubba. They were all right there. Who do you guys think wins the fan vote? Do you think DiBenedetto held on?
DiBenedetto, yeah, I think he went. He's currently leading right now. I'm going to assume he has a pretty big lead, so yeah, I say he holds on to it.
I think Bubba gets a sympathy vote, especially if RPM shuts down. Like, I'm not even making a joke here. Like, I honestly think that if that announcement comes true, there's people are gonna be like, we need to get Bubba in, and he's gonna.
They better announce it right now.
Yeah.
Then. They better announce it now.
Well, I think also, I mean, even Reddit now has went all in on voting for Bubba, and we saw how that worked last time when they went all in for something. They ended up sponsoring a car with the Dogecoin car. So I do not put it past them, and I will join forces happily with them to put Bubba into that race. So
Yeah,
I
dude.
think Bubba gets it.
I would too.
I
Did
totally
y'all see
forgot.
that Ricky Stenhouse is going to bring back the mullet to win the fan vote?
Oh yeah.
He doesn't need to bring that back.
You need to bring back the 17's performance, man.
Oh yeah, I'm forgetting that he didn't win last year, so he's got to actually race in again.
Yeah.
Forget the mullet. You got to bring back the 17 cars performance there, buddy.
I
Come
feel
on.
like
Yeah,
the mullet
yeah, I
might
mean,
scare away
you-
votes.
Hey, really quick, Ultimate Dragon has a good point. Wasn't that list in like a random order?
No, it was in order.
It-
when I saw it, it was in order.
It
Yeah,
was
on
in
the
order
website.
this
Yeah.
year.
When did they start doing it that way?
I-
This year, I think.
That's
That was the first-
stupid.
Yeah.
So there's all mystery.
That was last week.
Yeah, that was last week. We don't know what it's been, how it's changed in the last 7 days, but
That came before the great Reddit shift.
yeah.
Yeah,
Now-
that was 6 weeks ago. So
Yeah.
almost a week ago.
If the fan vote winner was to actually race their way in, then it would revert to the next person, right?
Yep.
I believe so.
If that's the case, I'm not going to say that the Benedetto is going to get it, because I actually believe he can do pretty well.
So you think he wins a stage?
Oh crap! We have to do stage picks, or are we just doing win?
Well, I mean,
shoot, I don't even know.
Stages here.
I would say pick your three you think are going to race in.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Okay, let me. I was only ready for a win.
To be
So-
fair, I'll start. I'll just go off the top of my head. I think Bowman wins a stage because he's been so good lately. I think he wins a stage easy. I'll go and say Suarez because I think he's got the best car in the open race. So I'll go with Daniel Suarez second. And then third, I think it's toss-up between DiBenedetto or Larson. I still don't think this package suits Kyle Larson super well. There's a good chance, Larson was second in the fan vote when we checked last week, so he might just win the fan vote. You never know. I'm a Larson guy. I guess I'll go Larson. So I think Bowman, Larson, and Suarez make it in.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with this.
I like.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I like your picks, Eric, but you're missing the number one stage winner this year, Ty Dillon.
Oh, jeez.
Oh,
Oh my
How could I forget?
Stage-
Yeah.
Stage and people's champ.
When it comes to winning stages, there's only one man to call.
Exactly.
Lord. No, but my oh, go ahead. Sorry, keep it.
I was just gonna say, I think I'm the exact same as Eric, except I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna say Bowman, Suarez, Bowman, Suarez, Benedetto, and then Larson fan vote.
So I'm all there with those, and then Bubba fan vote. I'm not underestimating Reddit and their powers of fan voting.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Bowman wins the first one, Larson second, Suarez third, and then Benedetto gets the fan vote.
So that is we got Rusty. Did you do your picks?
I'm trying to find the list. Everybody has a video as their article. I just want to see who's in each race, but no, I have no idea what's going on. I'll give you my fan vote. I'll give you my fan vote winner. I think honestly, Dale Jr. is going to send out a tweet and it's going to be like, "Oh, help my buddy Bowman out." I think Bowman gets the fan vote. I think he's getting in the main event no matter what, whether he wins the stage, gets the fan vote. He's on fire right now. Shout out to Bowman. But I want to see Suarez win. I want to see. I mean, it'd be cool to see the JTG cars run well again in the Open.
Busher. Yeah, Busher.
But I don't know. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
And did you give your 3, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much I agreed with most of y'all's picks, and then obviously my Ty Dillon pick because
for the memes.
I realized we all agreed on stuff, and we are completely uninteresting.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? This sucks.
But we're all
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. with his mullet.
Yeah.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Ty Dillon, and Ross Chastain or Matt DiBenedetto. Yeah, I'm just trying to throw out random names now. I don't know.
For some reason, I thought you were about to say Matt Tifft. I was like, what? I don't know why. I just thought you were about to say for some reason.
That's how you get a debate going.
No, just the normal guys that are going to get stage wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we can move on then to the main All-Star race. The main event Saturday night. 15 drivers are locked in currently. I don't have the list, but it's basically everyone we haven't talked about so far. 15 drivers are locked in.
I've got a list right here, Eric.
Okay, yeah. Danny, go ahead and read off the list so just for everyone's up to speed.
We have Kurt Busch, Brad Keselowski, Austin Dillon, Kevin Harvick, Ryan Newman, Chase Elliott, Eric Almirola, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Clint Bowyer, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Eric Jones, Joey Logano, and Jimmy Johnson. Okay,
solid group there. So the way the All-Star race works this year, it's slightly different than last year, but pretty much the same. 30-lap segment followed by a 20-lap, 20-lap, and then I believe 15 laps for the final segment. And I don't actually know. There's mandatory pit stops in there somewhere. It might be right before the final 15 laps you have to make a 4-tire pit stop, but I'm not certain on that. Either way, I think it's very similar to last year. We have 15 drivers locked in currently, plus I guess 4 more will be added after the open race and the fan vote. Do we want to go and do like who's going to suck this week and all that type of stuff, or do we just want to talk about winners?
Yeah.
Okay,
I definitely think there's one that's going to.
Okay, so we'll start with, as we usually do it, we give our who's going to suck this week picks, we give our underdog picks, and then we give who we actually think is going to win the race. And we're talking about the All-Star race now, so I'll start with you, Danny. Who is your going to suck this week pick?
Who's going to suck this week? I'm going to go out of this list, Ryan Newman. Just he's there. Yeah, he's there.
He made it from like when was his win? Like when did he win the All-Star race?
2002.
Oh my gosh, he's milking that for all it's worth.
Put in a clip of PewDiePie. Congratulations, incredible job. Yeah, you go.
I was about to say Ryan Newman, like literally for the same reason. He's there. He hasn't really done much. Like he's there. Like I don't know. Like I don't know. Like that's really the only reason. This race is full of pretty much mostly front runners. For obvious reasons. I mean, it is the All-Star race after all. So Ryan Newman, while he hasn't had a bad season, still like his last win came in 2017. Really hasn't ran up front like that in a very long time. So I'm gonna have to go with Newman on this one.
What about you, Jarrett?
I am going to go with somebody who actually won at Charlotte before, but the only reason he won was fuel mileage. I'm going Austin Dillon. I think he'll suck.
I knew he was going to say it.
He never – I'm just looking at his stats, and he never got a top 5. He only got one top 5, and it was that win in 9 starts, and it was off fuel mileage. And I really don't think that the All-Star race will ever be off fuel mileage, so I'm gonna go with Dillon.
What's his average finish?
Oh, geez. It's not on my chart here, so...
I'm
Not-
assuming
not
somewhere in like the 20s probably. So
And at Charlotte,
yeah.
Yeah, it's not. Well, it's not on my chart, and it goes down to 15.6. So
Oh.
Yeah, I'd say probably in the 18 to 20 range.
yikes.
Well, defend your guy then. Who do you, Matt? Who do you think is going to be who's going to suck this week?
oh, I'll defend my guy in a minute. But yeah, no. Looking at the drivers that are starting, I know this is going to be boring, but Ryan Newman does seem like the guy that's going to suck. I wish I could pick out another name, but I would be lying. I think it's Ryan Newman. He's going to be the one that sucks out of these guys.
Mm-hmm. Rusty, what about you?
I can't even say it with a straight face. I'm dead serious. You guys are gonna think I'm biased. I'm dead serious. I'm going with Denny Hamlin is gonna suck. And I got you guys see the last 3 weeks. Ever since I put that video up, the last 3 weeks, Denny Hamlin has had nothing but issues. There's something going on with the right rear. I don't know what's up with Denny. Maybe he's not focused. I don't know what's going on in that 11 car. But I think the bad luck or whatever's going on continues this weekend at the All-Star race.
I like that pick.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I actually I like it too. He explained it perfectly.
Yeah.
I love this meme so much because it's probably gonna be true.
Yeah.
I'll go with the different Gibbs driver, which is surprising because Gibbs has dominated this year. But I think Martin Truex Jr. is going to struggle this week. I don't really think he's going to be a contender. I mean, look at Kansas. He was barely inside the top 20 most of the night. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's this package. Maybe it's just, it's another mile and a half at night. I just don't think he's going to get it done. Obviously, he could prove me wrong. It's Martin Truex Jr. He could turn the corner any night and dominate and make this the most boring race ever. But I'll kind of like what Rusty's doing. Denny's had a couple bad weeks. I'll go with Truex. He did not run well at all last weekend. All right, so I guess from there we can move on to, unless anybody has any criticisms of any sort, we can move on to the Underdog. So who do you guys? I know it's tough because it's the All-Star race. They're all stars theoretically. It's like the Major League Baseball All-Star game. I guess is Aaron Judge an underdog? Like what does that actually mean? So but who do you guys think is the biggest underdog, flying under the radar? Who has a chance of winning this weekend?
So for me, my underdog is actually who Jarrett said is going to suck. Austin Dillon.
God, I'm doing the inverse of everyone.
Yeah, no, honestly though, I think Austin Dillon could be the one guy we've already written him out. He's had a few halfway decent performances. Like he can't really finish the races, but he's had a few halfway decent performances with this package this year. So honestly, I could see him, having a pretty good day actually.
I'm gonna go with Eric Almirola. He's not a regular to this All-Star race. Didn't even make last year's, I don't think. I'm gonna say he's up there competing for the win. He's not gonna win it though, but he's up there. I think this is only his second All-Star appearance, or maybe third if I think so. Yeah, Eric Almirola is my underdog.
God, I love going against the grain because I'm looking at the picks so far because I actually do write them down just in case I want to reference them, and I will here. So, yeah, I'm going to go on the inverse here of Danny. I'm going to go Ryan Newman as my dark horse. For the same reason that Danny gave, is that he has shown speed in this package so far, granted in relative terms. And I think that if you put it all from scratch and it becomes something where it's really aero dependent and hard to pass, if you got Newman up there already,
All right. He's the king of hard to pass.
that man is a brick wall. Like, and he has a brick wall with a concrete wall right next to him to help him have people not pass him too. So Newman will be my underdog. I'll show Newman a little love.
Well, I'm completely opposite of everything that Jarrett's saying. So whatever he's saying, I'm going to argue. So underdog Austin Dillon, obviously. I'm not saying he's going to necessarily win. I'm saying underdog because he has one at Charlotte. The Chevys have been looking a lot better. And although he hasn't got a win yet this season, Austin Dillon's actually looking better than he ever has before, in my opinion, just on pure quality on the track. So I think at Charlotte, this could be a track that he finally gets a win, especially at a bullshit race like the All-Star.
And his picture's right behind you.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, am I wearing the 3 Dow hat? Oh, am I?
Biased at all.
It's like,
Hey, this is from Eric.
oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Cool deal. Rusty, who's your underdog?
Originally, I was leaning towards Dillon, but I'm going with my underdog that I've kind of rolled with since the beginning of the season, and that's going to be Eric Jones. I just feel like, I don't know when it's going to happen. Maybe it was last week. I just feel like Eric Jones is going to get it figured out. and he's I got to ride with him. I'm going with Eric Jones as my underdog.
I'm never going to disagree with you on an Eric Jones pick, but he's not my underdog this week. It's tough to call this guy an underdog, and you'll see why. But he has not run well in a long time. Until the last couple weeks, his teams looked a little bit better. Last week at Kansas, I believe he finished 6th. Came on strong late as we got into the night, which is where this All-Star race is mainly going to be focused. Jimmy Johnson. Am I allowed to call Jimmy an underdog? I just did.
Yeah, nowadays. Yeah.
I think he's going to run top 5. Don't think he wins, but he's a top 5 for sure this weekend. All right, so on that note, we can move on to the main pick, the win pick, the one for all the money, the one that everyone's going to care about the most. Who do you guys got winning the $1 million on the Monster Energy All-Star race this year? Danny starts off. Oh, there we go. We got a BJ McLeod. Did I hear that correctly? Who said that? Was that one of you in the chat? Freaking trolls out here. I'm hearing things. All right, Danny. Who do you got winning?
So, I was torn. I'll tell you who my other choice was that I'm not going with. I was thinking maybe this could be Chase Elliott's year. Because, I mean, he's been pretty good the past few weeks. Got to win at Talladega. But I started thinking, Kevin Harvick won this race last year. I'm not picking Harvick, by the way. But Kevin Harvick won this race last year, and going into it, he had the most momentum. He had won 2 races consecutively before the All-Star race, 3 races in a row earlier that season. There's only one driver who's been so consistent and just riding. Shush.
You're gonna steal my pick. I know you are.
He's riding so much momentum, and I have his shirt on.
You think?
I mean, it'd be storybook. Make $1 million. First true Cup experience win, and then let's see what he does after that.
He finished 2nd the last 3 weeks. If say he'd even won the last 3 races, I don't even think that purse money would equal the $1 million he would make from winning the All-Star race. So that's how you do it. You just finish 2nd everywhere else and win the big one. Yeah.
I wanted that pick so bad, man. You don't know how bad I wanted to be the one to say that.
Surprised. Is anyone really surprised?
No, I'm not surprised because it's a meme. But at this point, the meme is the meme.
I mean, hey. Every time I have said I think Alex Bowman's going to be underdog or win, y'all always laugh. And now you see the past 3 weeks.
His history proved it.
Yeah.
But I've known what was there all along.
That evil laugh. Oh, my goodness.
Didn't even say that line straight.
So for my pick, I'm gonna go with Clint Boyer here. He's shown some speed on these mile and a half tracks this year. Coming off a top 5 from Kansas, and also just the fact, that Clint Boyer winning the All-Star race, it would be so great for the sport. His interview would be absolutely wild, and then he'd probably get hammered drunk. And I'd just like to see what he would spend his $1 million on. Now, obviously, he's probably not going to get all of that. Some of his team probably has to get a large percentage of that, but I want to see what he'll spend the money on too. That's what I'm most interested in. So, Clint Boyer, that's my pick.
Alex Bowman, moving on.
No, come on, say it with some enthusiasm. Come on, let's go, Bowman.
I'm not saying anything after that.
Danny, me and you almost had all the same picks. So I was a little disappointed when you switched it, but I'm going to go with Chase Elliott just because the Chevys, like I've said, the Chevys have been running well. His team's been looking better, and I don't know. He's just a good driver, whatever.
It kind of a boring pick from my end. I'm just going Kevin Harvick. He's been dominant on the last couple of years. Yeah.
Hey, he's got the meme car.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that.
I have the game car. Oh.
It's not that boring. He hasn't got a win this season.
Yeah, he's an underdog.
I mean, technically, he's winless so far. So it's
Still 3rd in the standings. Having a good year.
If Kevin Harvick wins in the Millennial car, who here would get that diecast, that race car diecast?
I would. I would.
That one
my wallet.
I firmly believe that one will probably DNP.
I don't know about that. That'll get a lot of pre-orders.
No, I think, Eric, me and you were talking on my podcast last week, and we were saying that Kevin Harvick, even if he's about to win, will just slow down just to get second, so he doesn't have to be remembered winning in a millennial car.
He doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't want to take the victory lane photos.
Okay, how about this? If Kevin Harvick wins, we need to try to find a way to get Lionel to make a Bluetooth speaker version of it.
Yes.
Oh God.
That would be perfect. Oh my God. Sorry, Dave. That was funny. That got a hoot out of me. That was funny. That was a good reference. He referenced the. Okay, so we'll move on.
There you go, Mr. Bestwick.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He is my what am I trying to say? He's my idol. Anyway, I guess.
I'll just say Carnation knows what's up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess so. My pick. I'll wrap it up. Also boring, but not necessarily because it's Harvick. I'm going with Chase Elliott to win this weekend. He's run well. Obviously, Chevys have run well lately. He finished top 5 at Kansas last week. All of his teammates were right there. So I think Hendrick's good. That's why I got Jimmy as my underdog. Chase as my win pick. Chase Elliott also, it feels like he's got a knack for winning, some big races. Won Talladega, which in front of 100,000 people or however many. Goes in, he's won at he won Watkins Glen last year, which is the most popular road course probably on the schedule.
It's at really exciting places like Kansas.
Yeah, he also, he's well, okay, yeah, that's true too. But either way, I think he lives up to the thing. I think the spotlight doesn't faze him too much. I think he grew out of it once he went wide at Watkins Glen and almost threw that win away. I think that was the end of him. Yep. Really choking away wins the way we've seen him do it in the past. I think
that was him throwing second place Chase out the window.
Yeah, I think that was like
a man was born that day.
A coming of age story, all within the 7 turns at Watkins Glen. But so Chase Elliott's my pick. He ran well last week at Kansas. I think he does well this week. So there we go. So we still have a few minutes to go. Is there any last things, any topics, any breaking news on Twitter tonight that we need to hit on before we go?
I want to bring something up. So last week we were talking about NASCAR possibly returning to the country of Mexico. Well, It was just announced today that F1 is dropping that Grand Prix after this season. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Does this open the door wide open for NASCAR's return to the country?
I wouldn't say wide open, but it's there. The door is unlocked.
And we've heard from, I can't remember if it was the city who said that or who said it specifically, but somebody down there said they were more interested in bringing stock car racing like NASCAR rather than more open wheel F1 type stuff.
And they have a whole series in there too. It's obviously not as big as NASCAR here and stuff, but it has quite a following out there.
I could say potentially maybe a truck series event. That'd be interesting.
All the trucks there. That'd be great.
Show them the best NASCAR has to offer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be interesting. I'd be all for it. I'm all for them running a race, points race, exhibition race, whatever they want to do. I think it's smart to grow internationally, especially if it means not breaking the bank. People say, "Oh, run them in Australia, go back to Japan or something." It's like they can't get all those cars out there. That's not in their budget these days. But Mexico, Canada, definitely within reason. So I'd be all for it.
I do feel like that NASCAR, they need to bring more races to Canadian Tire first, and then you try that possibility.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Really quick, if we want to do announcements just for next week.
Yeah.
Let me see. I can't remember. It's probably on my channel, and that's why I can't remember. But we're having Griffin Spire. He'll be on, so that should be really fun.
Nice.
And then I'm completely blanking on where I put the schedule at. So, yeah. Okay. Let me see.
We'll fill the time by looking at the chat. I see a Stonehead in the chat, so we know the stream is coming to a close. We've had more than 250 people watching most of the night. We still have 234 watching. Let's get that like button up over 200. We're at 181. Can we get about 20 more likes before we go, please, so I can sleep well at night?
It's real easy, folks. The little button on the left, you just hit it.
It helps our egos grow. Keep going.
Yes.
We have such high egos. Please make them go higher.
Yeah, it helps the ego, please.
Yeah. So it'll be on my channel next week, and Griffin Spire will be on. So that should be really, really fun. Always love having him on.
Yeah, very, very.
Was it other than he was on the finale? But the last time he was on specifically as the only guest on, it was when I was watching the End of the World up in Wisconsin in a Kmart parking lot.
That's right.
That's right.
Oh my goodness.
I really hate, I always scheduled to work late next week, so I hate that I can't talk to him. But I'll just go ahead and say this. It will be nice to see. Hopefully, he'll have the little Haley Deegan diecast that we all went in to help him.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
If y'all didn't see the video he put out of it, after he did his summer showdown, it was such a classic. Me and the 4 guys here and a few others, we all pitched in money, and we worked with CS Custom Diecast, and we helped produce a custom diecast of Haley Deegan's race win from that race.
Best custom diecast ever.
And we have hit 206 likes. There's been a lot of licking on the like button.
Very nice. And Sterling Siemens, thank you for the $5 super chat as well. Just want to say I love the discussion and tuning into this podcast. Got a final tomorrow, and my college freshman year will be complete. Well, good luck, and thank you so very much for that super chat.
I just got my finals done today.
Yeah.
You survived the first year, and 3 more years you'll be graduated, and you'll be like me, balancing a full-time job and a YouTube channel, and
it all goes downhill from here.
Oh no, it's all downhill. Oh no.
And you'll get
oh my god!
And you don't want to know what comes after that.
And if you don't have it already, you'll have a self-deprecating sense of humor.
Nice.
So that's what you get to look forward to.
Oh, but real quick,
After 6 years, because that's how long it took me. So
Yeah. And thank you, Mika Suzuki, for the $1.99 as well. Appreciate the support, everybody.
does anyone remember what happened the first time we had Grip Dog on though? Does anyone remember?
Which one was that again?
Deary?
Who's Griff Dog?
We had John Deere, we had the end of the world, and we had the finale, which is really fun, which had the famous Darian shock face.
Yes. Oh yeah. The infamous John Deere meme was born when
common denominator here.
It's gonna happen next week. That's for sure.
Yeah. Gotta tune in next week because a new meme will be born.
Hey, there he is in chat. He's like, yeah, I remember.
Oh, there he is.
I've done like 60 of these. I can't remember every one of them off the top of my head.
It's funny. I was watching back some of our older podcasts, like from last year, and the first one where Rusty was on with us was actually the whole poop show when we got all those people on.
I will take credit for that horrible idea.
That was a rough one.
All me.
Bring it back.
The season finale one wasn't that bad though. That one wasn't too bad.
Well, that one was planned well. I did not put any thought forth into planning that one.
It's true.
Well, I think we can all safely say that tonight's podcast went a lot better than that one did over a year ago. Yeah, I guess we can start wrapping it up. I want to thank our guest Rattlesnake for coming on. Do you want to plug your podcast really quick? I've been on it a few times. It's a great show. I know a lot of people I've seen on Twitter love it. Plug it for everyone.
yeah, absolutely. Like I said, Eric is pretty much just now my sidekick on that podcast. And by sidekick, I mean he brings all the good facts and information.
It's your show. I'm the supporting cast. You know.
Yeah. So it's called Chairgating. You can find it on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, all that stuff. Hopefully, maybe some of y'all will come on someday. I don't know. Anybody's welcome. I also write for. All right. We got one. I also write for bellyupsports.com. I also make the coolest T-shirts ever made, and that's not really a competition. That's just a matter of fact.
Those are nice. I like those. I might have to get one. How much they cost?
I don't know because I don't really get any money back for them. I just use the Teespring, stuff like that. I get $1 every sale. I just try to, I got Eric one, and then the one Eric wears, the Chairgating podcast one.
Oh, yeah.
I wore it when I was viewing Austin Dillon, and he complimented it, and I almost fainted. That's just a fact.
So yeah, that's awesome. I put your Twitter link down in the description of this episode as well, so everyone go give him a follow, listen to the podcast, and yeah. Any last words from anybody else on the panel? I guess I shall shout out Rusty. I'm sorry. I just think of Rusty as a regular guest. He's not always on the show, but he's always in the chat. I forgot. Rusty, you're a special guest tonight as well. Do you have anything you want to shout out, my man? You do the best NASCAR Heat 3 live streams on this program, I know.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to promote. I just want to thank you guys for having me on. It was cool to get to know Rattlesnake a little bit more. I see what you guys do on Twitter, and I listen to a couple of the podcasts Eric's on. But I just want to say Kansas was one of the all-time greatest moments in my life. The race is what it is, but the pre-race stuff, everything going into a live NASCAR event is the greatest fan experience in the world. I'm trying. I have to get to it. I'm going to try to put together a little video on my experience. Basically, I tried to do it as cheap as you could, and I wanted to show you guys what literally a full NASCAR experience is for nothing. Because you see all the people say it's so expensive to go to a race, but I paid $25 to go to the trucks, 75 for Cup. And I was in the garage, and I was taking selfies with the drivers. It was absolutely insane and mind blowing. And so I'm just still on a real big NASCAR high right now, loving life. So, and thank you guys here on the podcast for chatting with me during the race. It was incredible. It was one of the most emotional deals to see the final 10, 15 laps with Keselowski, Bowman,
the rest.
I'm blanking on it. It was so good when they threw that caution. But I thought. I thought I was going to witness the coolest finish in the history of NASCAR when it was happening live. I felt like I was destined to be at this race, and it was incredible.
So happy. He's so happy, man.
Dude, even that Chastain win. Are you kidding me? How excited he was? Oh man, I don't know. I just felt like this week I had to be there. It was incredible. I needed to do that. Hopefully we get that similar experience at Bristol. I love Bristol. It's Bristol, baby. And I got to stop talking, but thanks again for you guys having me on. I can go all night.
Super chat, and it's about Rusty, actually.
Yeah, Mika Suzuki sends $5 and says, get Rusty to 1K. So you heard it, everyone watching. If everyone watching right now goes and subscribes to Rusty, he would get to
He's 39 away.
Yeah. Okay, how many people are watching here? We got 171 people watching. I'm going to bet that there's 39 people who aren't subscribed to Rusty Wallace, and you should be right now.
Yeah,
get on over there.
Subs away right now.
Yeah.
So.
But,
subscribe.
On that encouraging note, thank you to our guests again for coming on. Thank you to the usual panel for being here. It's been an outstanding show. I'm going to go and mute you guys. We'll go and play it out with the little outro right here. But thanks again for tuning in. We'll be on Jarrett's channel, same time next week, talking about the All-Star race, talking about the Coke 600. We're already looking forward to it. Great show tonight. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. See you next week.
Green flag, green flag. All roll, all roll.